Hello and welcome to the Austin Interviews ... podcast where Austin interviews ... Today I'll be interviewing extraordinaire and creative Colin Cowie. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I'm beyond happy to be with you.
I'm so excited. I know that for me, like, highlighting creative people and people in the creative space is something like I've always loved to do. And like last episode I had Romero on, and now to have you on, I'm super excited. So I have a whole bunch of questions. You just want to jump right into it?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So starting out with something fun. If you could describe signature Colin Cowie in three words, what would they be?
Over the top.
That's me. That's not for my podcast. And how has your signature style like evolved over the years?
Basically, I'm a really good storyteller, right? So I listen very carefully and I take it all in. And then being a ruthless editor, also great style comes from ruthless editing.
Yeah.
It's about knowing what to talk with and what to get rid of, right? And then the cream rises to the top. When you're at the right ingredients, we serve those. And I serve that in a way, and I always play to the senses. Everything that are in creating moments and wow moments, because I think at every juncture in what we do, you want people to always say, oh my God, I can't believe they did this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I tell that story through the senses. So what have you smell, touch, taste, see, and hear, how we change, manipulate, enhance, and then take you on that journey with a very carefully thought out a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Wow, that's right. I look at your images of the events and like things that you've done, and I just sit there like, how does that even happen? Like, how do you even get to that point? That is insane.
Well, I can't switch it off.
Yeah.
You know, it's a blessing and it's a curse.
For sure.
know? If I'm in a hotel room on a vacation somewhere, it's like, why did they not put this wall
there.
over there and the window over there? The architect must have been sitting in a corner office in Boston somewhere and didn't have a look at what it was.
I'm the exact same way.
But, you know, given any set of circumstances, being a good listener, I find out what the objective is, right?
For sure.
And then it just starts to fall in, and I start to see it three-dimensionally, what you smell, what you taste, what you taste, what you hear, and then all of a sudden you end up with something. And because I always start to work with your DNA, or product's DNA, right? No two projects are ever the same.
Never.
Because no one's DNA is ever the same.
No.
So we just tell a very unique story every single time, and it's what keeps it interesting and fresh.
For sure. So, what has inspired you to pursue event like planning, and how did you get to start in that industry?
So I was studying pharmacy, wanting to be a doctor
Wow.
in South Africa, and I really didn't believe in the political system in the height of the 80s. And I thought, where can I go and live where they speak the same language and the weather's similar? So our bank accounts were all monitored in those days. So I came as a tourist with $400, one well-cut suit, an omnipresent suntan, and big dreams. And set my sights on Los Angeles. So my first 13 years were in LA. And I felt like, you know, those people who have no arms and they paint with their feet.
Yes, oh my God.
I felt like I'd been one of those because all of a sudden I was in Hollywood and there were prop stores and costume places and anything was available and possible to create with.
So possibilities are endless.
Completely.
Wow.
And you never have to do the same thing twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. So imagine you're planning a party, but you don't have any budget limit, no rules. What's the wildest thing that you would, include?
Oh.
Like, what would you bring in? You have no limits.
You see, it's not about one thing. I think it's about a sum of all the different things,
Yeah,
right?
what is that?
So it's like it's the venue, right?
Yeah.
You're going to take over some extraordinary castle somewhere, but then we've got to get there. So then you're going to need either the jet or the boat, right?
Exactly.
And then we're going to need to feed people. So it's going to be like, who's the greatest chef we want to work with, right?
Yeah.
And we might want to costume these people. So who's the greatest costume designer? Because when you think about it, all of our events really are the sum of all the pieces.
Yes. Oh,
Right?
it's
And
so
this is a business that's become highly specialized. You know, when I started in this business, in the rental industry, you got tablecloths that there was more plastic in the tablecloths than in my credit card. Right? There was poly this and poly that, and there was 2 styles of chairs and 2 tables and 4 different plates to choose from. Today, I mean, what you can rent rivals what a subby hostess has in her entertaining closet, and anything and everything.
Wow.
Yes.
And I think that's like the best part for me, or for anything when it comes to creative now, especially when you have digital, you can really go as far as you want, and planning out something, you can go, oh, I want to put a roller coaster here, or I want to put so, and I think kind of leading that in, so what was the turning point in your career where you're like, wow, you went from, an event to like a luxury event planning space?
It's so interesting because I had been doing pretty well in Southern California, in Los Angeles, and to make extra money, I taught cooking lessons at the Beverly Hills High School adult program.
Whoa.
And one woman was there, and her husband was the president of Playboy. And she said, do you think you could be a food consultant for Hugh Hefner's wedding? So I thought, Hugh Hefner's wedding. So I said, that sounds amazing. I said, well, let's go and see the place. And I went up to the Playboy mansion. And so I said, you know what? If I were to do this, I wouldn't do anything like this. You've got buffets. People don't get into black tie for buffets. And they had silver lame in the ceiling, and there were fajitas and carne, this and the next thing. I said, I would do something very different in this exquisite Tudor home.
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of it. Let's tell the story.
Wow.
So I told the story, and someone important came down and said, wow, that's amazing. They called someone else more important, and I told the story, and then someone else more important came down. Each time the story got bigger and better. And then I was sitting in front of Hugh Hefner in his pajamas. He said, it's exactly what I want. Can you do this? I said, absolutely.
Oh my God.
There was no doubt in my mind. I had 12 and a half weeks, less than 4 months to produce the entire thing. And there were all these beautiful sculptures and statues in the garden, and I found a place in Palm Springs to make copies, to make more of them, so I could put them around the property to create a demarcated space.
Oh my God.
And because they wanted buffet, I said, buffet in black tie? I said, I've never heard of this before.
No.
So I made food station buffets that with Venetian drapes in front of them, and trumpeters came out and they dropped the flag and they da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and the drapes went up and you walked up steps, beautiful, the most classically most beautiful food stations.
Oh my God.
Caviar and champagne and frozen vodka to start. Then the drapes went down, you danced some more, you came back for the next, and the decor had changed completely once the drapes went up. The waiters' uniforms changed, the flowers changed.
What an event. Like,
And that really was...
What a time to be
And
at.
I had no idea how famous the world's most famous bachelor was. And I was still like the kid from South Africa. I'd been there for like 3.5, 4 years. And all this, and I'd do the biggest wedding
ever.
I remember in those days, and there was no digital, obviously.
Yeah.
I got 2, as thick as the Yellow Pages, 2 books on press, and that kind of made me miss the wedding.
And every single part is so planned out. Having like from the moment you enter to the second you leave, just like all that process, like do you ever get stressed out like about something not going properly or?
So there's a million things that can go wrong,
Yeah.
and will go wrong. Right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to surround yourself with the smartest group of people, so that before the guest even notices that you've right-sided, fixed it, and you've moved on.
Exactly.
Right.
Wow.
Sometimes other things happen, weather, things we can't control. But, so many people say to me, I want you to do a reality show. We want to see all the mistakes, all the things. I said, you should have been with me 25 years ago. I said, we're pretty good right now. I'm not saying that we don't make mistakes, but I've surrounded myself with the most incredibly smart, dedicated people. Smart and more dedicated than I am. So it allows me to design and produce, but we create safety nets and more safety nets. And, we create documents 1.5 inches thick, which is the minute by minute, the run of show.
Wow.
So any conversation I've had with the client in the last 9 months, there's an actionable item. It lands up in that schedule somehow. At what time and who's responsible and how does it happen?
It's like literally like writing a musical. It's like making a performance.
It's actually also like producing a movie.
Yeah.
When we did the opening of a Palm Dubai Atlantis, it was still the largest pyrotechnic show in the history of the world.
I see just the image of Atlantis and all the fireworks around it.
It was the largest pyrotechnic show ever. I mean, in that, in calling a show like that, you're speaking to 20 different disciplines, right? So it's food, it's beverage, it's the service, it's the lighting, it's the pyrotechnics, it's the special effects, it's musicians. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on.
Wow.
And when it got to that stage, I hired a director.
Yeah.
I said, I just am not cut out for this. I'm happy to design and produce. Let someone else make it happen.
Oh my God! That's the largest. I mean, that is just the most insane space ever. I love Atlantis, especially the one here in Bahamas. But speaking of like a memorable, so what sets a truly memorable event like apart from the rest?
Oh, it's so funny you just mentioned Atlantis, Bahamas.
Yeah.
Imagine having Grace Jones come off the top of a building and come ziplining down into an arena where she had 220 oiled people walking behind her, carrying torches with the US synchronized swim team in front of her. And then
what?
And then I remember saying to the owner, he said to me, "Are you crazy? $25,000 for an outfit?" He said, "But why is there 50,000 on the budget?" I said, "Because that's a stunt double. Grace Jones ain't jumping off the 20th story of a building."
It wasn't actually Grace Jones?
No, the stunt double came down,
and then
as he got to the bottom, there was a big pile of smoke. He disappeared, and she magically appeared and continued walking.
Oh my God! Wow, that's incredible. I love Grace Jones. Grace Jones is such like a creative inspiration for me. Like every piece of photography,
everything about iconic.
Iconic. So, how do you ensure every detail, no matter big or small, contributes to overall success of an event?
I think we're storytellers, right? So it's what dose and at what time and how much of it does serve you, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm in the business of how we make you feel.
Exactly.
Right? So if we're doing a really good job, we've thought about how we're going to take you through this journey emotionally, time-wise. I find today we are all extremely jaded. Right, so we want everything in a New York nanosecond.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a deal with anyone that I work with. Like we're doing a wedding. I've never done a wedding where the bride didn't walk down the aisle more than 15 minutes after the printed invitation.
Really?
Yes, because I think that you're asking all these people to come. This is also not just a wedding or another event. It's your joint statement of style, right? Two people coming together. Are we Mr. and Mrs. got it together? Mr. and Mrs. can't get our shit together? Or who are we, right? So if you all got it together and you want to be respected by your friends, start on time and treat them with as much respect to the fact that they showed up for you.
Yeah, I feel like everyone nowadays attention span because of like fat media and content.
Completely. That's why I serve it to you very quickly. I start immediately. A ceremony is 20 minutes. I do cocktails in 45 minutes because by the time you get them moving, it's an hour, right? Mm-hmm. We serve a 3-course dinner without speeches, toast, or dancing in 90 minutes. So if you're front-loaded and you never look at your watch, you'll take people on a fabulous journey.
And you don't even realize what time it is. That's when you know an event is good, is when you don't even have to worry about
Exactly, but when you go somewhere and the bride and groom go to the beach to go and take pictures and you're left for 2 hours standing around drinking, right? Yeah. You sit down for dinner, you've been there for 5 hours, there's no sign of a cake, you go home tired, bored and drunk.
The best part is getting to the cake. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you get permission to leave.
Yeah,
exactly.
There you go. So, what is your process of collaborating with clients to ensure that their vision is fully realized while incorporating your signature style? Because I feel like with a wedding, like,
so first of all, we have to like one another. Right? So what I'm interviewing them when they're interviewing me.
Exactly.
Right? Because it's a very intimate relationship.
For sure.
Because you really get to see them at their best and at their worst, because there's family pressures, husband and wife might not agree on something, there's a stepfather, a stepmother. So we wear many, many, many hats. So I'm a good listener, right? We decide we're going to work together, we get all excited about it. I always ask them to share with me as many images as they can of things that they love, right? Whether it's on a Pinterest or Instagram, to collect. Tell me a story of what you like and tell me a story of what you don't like.
For sure.
Just don't get those files mixed up.
Exactly.
And then from there, I take it all and I start to absorb it and I tell the story. We have the opportunity to do something on Friday, Saturday during the day, Saturday event, Sunday brunch. Not everything makes the cut. Yeah. But usually they come and say, oh my God, this is genius, this is brilliant, not realizing they gave me the ingredients to start with, right? And it's how you serve it up and how you put a spin on it.
Sure. And like the editing process.
Yeah, someone says champagne's important to me. Great, it's wonderful. We could do champagne so many wonderful ways. We can make ice buckets for it. We can saber them with swords. We can do champagne fountains. You can bring big double magnums, right?
Oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, geez, you have the possibilities are really endless there.
Completely.
Yeah, so it's like if you want something, like I guess that's a really good way of like, I mean, that can apply to everything, really. Like, if you're working with someone and they want something and you want something, like, there's so many ways you can, like, get that compromise really close. And, like, for that, like, that's what I was going to go to my next question is, like, how do you balance creativity with, like, practicality when working with a client's, like, budget and
function
ideas?
First.
Okay.
Function, flexibility, and fashion. Right?
For sure.
But it's got to be functional first. And I've got to make sure that the nuts and bolts work. Yes. And that if we're outdoors, there's always a plan B. I always say, don't mess with God, right? If you have a good plan B, you won't need it. But don't think that you can just slide
just
on
go
by.
right in. Yeah, exactly. You got to think about all the factors. Yeah. Moving on to like a very cool part about it is just the amount of the people that you've worked with. So from celebrities like Oprah Winfrey to Elton John, they trust you with most important celebrations. What are the unique challenges of planning events with such high-profile clients?
It all depends on the client and the accessibility.
For sure.
Like Oprah Winfrey is the most extraordinary woman
really
to work with, you know, and I've been working with her for 22 years, right? And in fact, we texted 10 times today on something that we're working on. She's just the most, because she is first and foremost the ultimate producer.
For sure.
So she understands everything that has to happen behind the camera.
She's the OG.
Yeah. Most people are only focused on what's in front of the camera.
Sure.
She understands what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And she's a very reasonable woman, you know. And then of course you get with celebrities, other celebrities who, you know, I want everything but I don't want to pay for it, right?
No.
And then don't answer the phone calls and whatever it might be. So it's also one of the reasons why I left Hollywood.
For sure.
So I could pick who I want to work with and pick with people, because listen, we work incredibly hard. I give you a piece of my heart, my soul, and an inch of my hairline every time. Right? So in doing so, you want to work with someone that's going to respect you, respect your time, and you have fun with it.
For sure. Oh my God, yeah.
And I know in the first week or two of designing a contract, is this art and passion, or is this commerce?
For sure.
Right? And a lot of the time it just becomes commerce.
And what's the purpose behind the event? Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. So can you share a memorable moment or unique request from a celebrity that stands out in your career for an event?
I remember one amazing one, funny enough, speaking of. It was Oprah, and we were doing the Legends Ball in 2005. Where she said, I kept getting asked to speak at all these memorials and funerals, and it was too late. And these are these extraordinary people. She said, we need to tell them now how we feel about them, right? So that they can be celebrated.
Yeah.
So she chose to choose the 20 living female legends who are rights activists, poets, laureates, community leaders, musicians, you know, the works. The most famous 20
at the top of the top.
And then the 40 young'uns who, because of the journey of the 20, have paved the way for these young'uns to come up. And we were doing a luncheon on the Friday, and then the big white tie ball was on the Saturday, and there was a brunch on the Sunday. So we're talking about the lunches. I want to give these girls some gifts, and someone said, why don't we do embroidered robes? I said, you can get that at a hotel at the Four Seasons on your way checking out. So why don't we give them diamond earrings? And she said to me, are you crazy? I said, yes, they should each get 10 carats of diamond earrings. So we ended up doing the most extraordinary briolette chandeliers for the legends, and we did beautiful diamond hoops, a black diamond lined with white diamonds lined with black diamonds, gorgeous big hoops for the young'uns. And I packaged them in a red crocodile box with sterling silver plate on top with your name engraved on it, with a gorgeous 3-inch thick red satin bow on top of that on a silver tray. And
I can't close my mouth.
60 waiters came out and put down 60 of these gifts at the same time, and she said, you may open your gifts. And they were just screaming. Right?
Oh, I gotta rethink the list I'm sending to my mom for Christmas.
Like, who does that, right?
No one. That is the most I could not close my mouth that 1 second. That's the most insane thing. Like, speaking of gift giving, how do you know the right gift to give someone? I mean, to come up with that, like, per person, how do you cater the right gift, or from a party?
So it's amazing. I won't mention names, but I have a pretty famous client and friend that I'm working with right now. We just collaborated on a huge project together, and he's completely outspoken, right? But he loves nice things. So I went to Laura Piano and bought the most gorgeous sweater, and I had this embroidered on the front of it because it's totally him, right? And I know he will get off on it completely, right?
That is amazing.
Yeah, so
on a luxury nice sweater, just putting the middle finger right in the middle.
Exactly, because it's totally him, right? And it's something, and I think people love anything that's custom made.
For sure.
People like to see their name written. They need to see their name embroidered or embossed or engraved.
Oh, that is for sure. I think for me, like, because gift giving is like my favorite thing. I go crazy, like. One of my friends from school, we did Secret Santa, and everyone does candy whenever. He loves Aaron Rodgers, so I got an Aaron Rodgers signed jersey and sent it right to him in a framed case. Like, it brings me so much joy to like cater what I do to the person. So,
but that's the best part of gift giving. Is giving a gift that you know is going to get oh my God, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They don't send the note, you get the phone call the next day.
Yeah.
So we do, like, we're in the process of gift giving right now at the end of every year. Well, obviously, we've had amazing clients, so we want to make sure that we send them something fabulous. And then, there's different tiers, right? So it's everything from a bottle of wine to a rare bottle of champagne to customized gifts.
Yeah.
And we kind of pretty much think of all of it. And then we have a gifting program that we've been in this business a long time. I mean, I've got brides who are having their 30th wedding anniversary, and we send them a gift on their 30th wedding anniversary. They can't believe it. They can't believe
like, hello,
it.
that
Right?
was...
Because we remember everything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And, it keeps you top of mind. It keeps you on their radar screen, which is good.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, like, in working with so many different people and coming up with so many different ideas, like, who has been your favorite person you've worked with? I mean, like, from Tom Cruise to Oprah to, like, the list is endless.
Without a doubt, I mean, it would be Oprah.
Yeah.
Wow. She kind of in a league.
She's such a big inspiration to, like, everyone and me. I mean, she is the top.
She's wonderful.
Of the top.
Ryan Seacrest is a great person to work with. He's got exceptional taste. He likes to do things right. He loves to do everything very elegantly.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I love Ryan Seacrest. He's super great. I could see him being, like, a really good person to work with and get, like, the most.
And a lot of fun.
So much fun. Yeah, he seems like such a blast. I'm like, Ryan, please come on the podcast. So, speaking of, like, in challenges coming with that, like, what was the most challenging event you've ever planned, and, like, how did you overcome all those hurdles?
It's one of the events that I wasn't at personally, but we were working for a major, major celebrity, and he was getting married on an island in Fiji. And there were problems on the island when we got there with regards to food and delivery, and what we thought we were expecting and what we got was like different. The team dealt with everything, but then and we right-sided everything, but then the two mothers of the bride and groom got into a terrible argument.
Of course. It's like a movie.
It's like your worst movie ever. So now you've got 150 people on a private island, and the ceremony took place but was never officiated, and they never got married. Then the bride's family was on one side of the island, and the groom's family was on the other side of the island.
It just ended up being an event for...
It ended up being an event for whatever.
My God. At least they were... And of course, you're stuck on an island.
Stuck on an island. That should have been the beginning of reality TV.
And that really is a TV show. Yeah, imagine. It's literally like Romeo and Juliet stuck on an island. Two separate households across in one stuck place. Oh, that's hilarious. So what's one moment where things didn't go as planned, like at an event where something went wrong, and how do you fix it right in that instance? Like it happens and someone falls or something happens, how do you fix that?
I mean, you surround yourself with really smart people.
Yeah,
and you're kind of always looking, because in this business, I've always said it's all about how you make you feel, because we're always looking for opportunity.
Sure.
Right? So you really want to stop that from happening before it happens. But we've been in a situation before where torrential rain came down, and the after party was completely flooded, right? So you end up moving the band and the musicians inside, and you kind of do it so nobody else notices it, and people get with the spirit and the program with it. We've been at weddings where tents leaked, all sorts of things happen, but people get in the spirit of it. I do remember once doing a very, very major high-profile event in Monte Carlo at the Sporting Club. And this is a place where the ceiling retracts and open. The big windows drop down into the ground. It becomes a pavilion. In the middle of the transition, where all the screens were supposed to come alive, there was a power failure to the whole building. Right?
Stop.
So you can imagine when the host looks at you and the hostess looks at you, and you turn blood red. There's nothing in the world I could have ever done, because this is a government building. You would have thought that a government building wouldn't have backup.
Yeah,
right? In Monaco of all places.
Nicest. Oh my God! Yeah, you're just like sitting there like praying, please keep going.
So I had 4 screens going, and I cranked up the volume, and
Yeah, and then everyone's like,
shots came out afterwards.
Oh my God! Get the drinks! Get the drinks! Get the drinks!
And we've had things where a generator blew. Right? At an event, and it takes 20 minutes to recover, to reset. That's like 20 minutes for me is like 9 hours of hell.
Sure, yeah. It's having that group of really good problem solvers.
Since that event, every generator now has a backup generator.
You're checking every single thing. That's the first thing you go to a venue. I'm like, how is the power working? Yeah, for sure. So what's an event or you've designed that you consider like a personal masterpiece and like it stands out in your career?
The next one.
Always the next event?
No, I don't take that lightly. I mean, we really think about what we do.
For sure.
And when the whole team comes together and we all, add what we do to make it really, really special, the bar is here.
Wow.
And it's, it's what's happened recently, because I think that's where your creative energy is at. When you pull something off and it happens flawlessly, and the next morning you get flooded with accolades from the client. We just 2 weeks ago, we were commissioned to create a new guest experience for the Fortune Global Forum. Isn't Fortune the magazine and the brand? Well, Fortune Global Forum had never been in New York before.
Wow.
So we hosted it in New York, and they said, we really want this to be very different. So then, that's the best thing you can tell me.
Yeah.
Like usually, and the reason why is because it's about how do you grab attention in a saturated market and stand out in a crowd. 5 years ago there were 4 of these conferences. Today every hedge fund and every big private bank in the world has got their financial conference. So you go in there, you give them your ID, and they give you a canvas bag with the name of the bank on the side of it. Right?
Yeah, it's the same.
Not when I'm in town.
No.
So what we did was we recognized them, facial recognition downstairs before they came upstairs. So we said, good afternoon, Mr. Austin. Welcome to the Fortune Global Forum. Please come take a seat. Right?
Oh my God.
And we seated you in a lounge seat for 2 seats. Somebody came and offered you the chilled towel, Asian style. Then they came and offered you an espresso, cappuccino, whatever beverage you wanted.
Recognition. That's insane.
And then we bought leather folios with your name debossed in them. Okay.
Oh my God.
So that was just the first thing, right?
And I'm sure people are going crazy because you're just not used to that.
Because I said to them, it's not about one thing, it's about the sum of all the parts.
Exactly.
Right? So by the time they leave here on Tuesday afternoon, we would have blown them out of the water. And then, so every time you went in, the snacks in the beginning, with the first break, there were branded M&Ms, right? In the afternoon break, there were macarons that were branded. Like the next day morning break, there were the covers of the magazines from the 1920s onwards printed on cookies.
Oh my God.
For the cocktail reception, I had beautiful women, 4 of them in like 8-inch heels.
Oh my God.
Gorgeous black gowns.
Wow.
Flawless hair and makeup. They had black gloves to here, and then they had
Oprah.
2.5 pounds of caviar on their hip with a canister of blinis, and we were making caviar blinis for my 80% men audience.
That is amazing.
Standing directly behind them.
I need one of those outside my door.
Yeah, I had one next to the bed.
For sure. Just, please.
And then there were gentlemen with trays of bottles of Dom Perignon with empty glasses pouring Dom on demand.
Oh my God.
So when you add all that together, and how the lunches are served, and how the staff are dressed, and how you transition from one place to the next place, people then walk away thinking, wow, I never saw that before.
Exactly. Wow. And like, because we were saying like the next one and like the next event, getting better and better and learning, like, do you ever experience like a creative block where you're like, wow, I just like had dolphins flying in the air, how do I top that?
Thank God, never once. I've never, it always comes.
Yeah, just boom, the next thing. That's rare. Like, not many people can say that, because a lot of people I know like really can't. Like
well, I'm just excited today about what I do is when I started this 39 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. And like with that, like I feel like it's not even like following a trend. You're basically having your own trend that's forever.
Yeah, I'm not big on trend.
Yeah.
Because trend comes and goes quickly. So everything's got a lifespan this long.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. I like timeless chic, timeless elegance. It's like I remember one day looking at a bride having her hair done, and the makeup artist, and I said, I'm sorry. I said, you cannot make her look like this, because her daughter's going to say to in 20 years' time, Mom, what were you thinking? Okay?
That's why I say all the time.
Let's just make it a little bit more timeless and chic, and it'll last forever.
For sure. All right, so now we're going to our segment, which is like our tips and advice segment, and I think there's no one better to get advice from. So let's jump right into it. What's the secret to creating a truly unforgettable event and experience?
It's a combination of all the senses and how they come together. And I always say it's a colorful guest list, right? It's a well-stocked bar.
Yeah.
It's amazing people, right? Music and great food. Those are your 4 principal elements, and how we serve those up. Add to that what you smell, touch, taste, see, and hear, right? Sure. Then realizing that we want to take you on a carefully thought out journey with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
That really is the formula.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And along the way, focusing on how I make you feel, and always looking for opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then this is like taking that, and how would you give someone advice that's like aspiring to enter the planning industry at your level?
I think you need to go and work with someone who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because so many people today, also like in our industry, there's no barrier to entry, right?
Yeah.
And anyone can decide, I'm in the event planning business.
Yeah, you just say it.
And they print a business card and they put a pretty website with a bunch of pictures that they've screenshotted from here, then everywhere, and all of a sudden they're your competition.
There you go. I know, nowadays it's social media. You can post something and the next night you have 1 million followers.
Exactly.
It's insane. Yeah. So just really just getting into it and learning from the best of the best.
Go and just learn from the best of the best. Figure out, is there a hotel banqueting department that you might be able to participate, do some work with.
Internships.
Yeah, internships. See if you can go to a couple of industry events, and you'll start to fall into the right place. And then there's a huge amount and always a demand for kind of casual labor in this business.
Yeah.
When I say casual labor, these people are earning $1,500 a day.
Jeez.
Right? So it's not like it's pennies. And they're getting to go to Ireland and Istanbul and travel all over the world, because that's where our work takes us, and we take people with us, right? Or if we're working here locally on the ground in every city, you're going to go and hire local people. So
exactly.
I think to get into that wave of people who are doing production, because then you don't only get to learn from one person, you get to see how 5 different people do, and you can decide, listen, I really want to go and work with such and such.
For sure, and I feel like and that's the most important thing is when you work with someone that is at that high level, you know what you can trust, and I think trust is so important, because exactly like you're saying, you're paying $1,500 for these people, and they're doing like a half job, you want to make sure that
they're pretty smart today, because they've been around a long time.
For sure.
Now look at the people in my team. We hire slow and we fire very fast. Right? And that means you really want to make sure that the next team member is going to fit in.
Perfectly.
My senior producer has been with me for 26 years.
Wow. And
26 years. What we've done around the world, how many bottles of champagne we've opened. My head of accounting, 19 years, IT 19 years, 17 years business partner. I mean, people don't leave because we really pick the right people. Wow. And many of them have started off as interns with us. And I really look after the people. Like my entire division is all run by girls. Fabulous, highly accomplished women. So I speak women's language, right? So I make sure that before every event, the senior producer gets an allowance to go and buy herself a new dress and a new pair of shoes, right? What does it cost me to bring the glam squad, right, to take care of my girls before they walk out? I want them to walk out onto the floor and to represent me with confidence and with style.
That's the best. Right?
Wow. I know they're going to be picking up and carrying and doing 1,000 different things, so you're welcome to experience a manicure and a pedicure.
For sure. It's taking care of the people that you work with.
And the last thing I want is a revolving door where I've taught everybody all of my intellectual property to go and work with Mary down the road.
Yeah.
So then I do a profit sharing plan. So at the end of every quarter, when we do well, they all do well. So I've really created a family and a community. Yeah. And it's difficult to get in.
It's hard to build it.
Yeah, because the interesting thing is when I hire someone new, I'm the last person to interview them. Wow. They go through the whole company first.
Yeah.
And once there's buy-in from everyone else, then I know that I need to pick A, B, or C.
Exactly. And since you've built level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, once you get to the final boss, that's when you know. Exactly. So
you must be good if you finally made it. Yeah.
You made it through 100 levels. If you didn't leave at level 50, then we know you're ready. So this is for the individual people at home, because I love doing events and throwing parties, but I'm not having the same level as Colin Cowie. Yeah. What's one small thing anyone can change to elevate their own home events?
A dimmer switch. It's an interesting thing, so many people have bright lights.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing worse than walking into someone's home and you feel like you're about to have your teeth cleaned with the oral hygienist. Right? I have a dimmer switch on everything. Dimmer switch and candles.
Wow.
I think candles for me, it's instant ambiance, right? It's the quickest way to go from daytime to nighttime.
Warm lighting.
And it's the first and the strongest thing in your arsenal of tools to create ambience.
For sure. Yeah, and that always, candles. Yeah. I agree.
And also serve a drink in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Whether it's the glass or the ice cube, right?
The smoke.
Yeah. I have in my freezer, you know those drawers for your shoes, the clear ones?
Yes.
I have those for different shapes of ice.
Stop.
So I've got
stars.
I've got I love orange.
Yeah.
So I've got an orange segment in a round ball. I love to do that if I have a vodka on the rocks.
Wow. Yeah.
Sometimes I take a sliver of chili and I put them in the long icicles. And I put that in a champagne flute and top that up with tequila. It's such a chic way to sip, not slug, right?
Oh my God. All those things.
When it comes out on the tray and the cocktail napkin and the ice bucket, I think it's all experience. A lot of people don't use their things.
For sure, yeah.
I use my things all the time. I was in the Northridge earthquake in Los Angeles in the 80s, which was a disaster.
Yeah.
And all my good stuff was on the top shelves. And those were all the things that broke first. So from that day onwards, my sterling silver's in the dishwasher. I gargle with my crystal, and I wear my best suede shoes when it rains.
You're ready to go. Make sure everything
Ready to go. Because I'm going to go and say, I got to enjoy it, right?
Yes,
I deserved
for sure.
it.
But like in all that, like how do you manage stress and like keep creativity flowing? Like when you have all these like different things happening.
Well, I think stress is something that we manage.
Yeah.
And for me, it comes from having order, right?
For sure.
If I know that we've ticked all the boxes. So our intellectual property, when I started this project, 39 years ago, it was a piece of paper with a checklist.
Wow.
Today we've got SOPs for the Bahamas, for working in Turkey, for working in Saudi Arabia, wherever we work in the world. So there's documentation and backup and guidelines for everything. And you've got a really smart group of people. And you have different teams. There's great competition between the teams to be the best, right? Because we're all trying to be the best version of ourselves. And all that does is drives up the product. The product just gets better and better and better.
For sure. Yeah, if all you can do is the best, then you do the best each time, then everything's going to go better and better. I have a fun game.
It's always great when that happens, but you always have to be prepared because someone can get lost on a flight. Someone's visa didn't make it. I mean, shit happens.
There you go. I have a really fun game right now. Okay. So we're gonna do some rapid fire fun questions. When I have, like, for example, like I had fashion, I had Eliza Held who does a lot of fashion, so I asked her to do fashion in and outs. But I have some quick questions for you. So it's either one or the other. So confetti or fireworks?
Fireworks.
Champagne tower or chocolate fountain?
Champagne tower.
Live band or DJ?
DJ.
Oh, wow.
Depending on the band. Depending on the DJ.
Yeah, for sure.
The wedding band or Tiesto. Well, I'm going to have some amazing band versus DJ down the road. Right?
Exactly. It depends on who the person is. So candlelight or like neon lights?
Candlelight.
For sure.
For sure.
And then what's your favorite flower for like an event design? Your go-to flower?
My go-to flower is probably the peony.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's such a beautiful romantic flower. I'm also madly in love with the lily of the valley.
Oh, I
but
love
it's got
it.
about a season as long as a nanosecond.
Yeah, it's
exquisite.
Handling that.
And then I love big green tropical leaves. Really love them.
Like
huge ones, in a big glass cylinder. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. That's I'm a green person.
Yeah.
As you can tell, there's a lot of green.
I take a palm tree any day over a desert.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then my last one is like beach or mountain.
Beach.
Yeah, we're Miami. You have to. There
exactly.
You go. So I also kind of like this is if you could choose 3 items to design a last minute party, what are they? You can do 3 things. You can have what are those 3 items?
Well, I'd start with a great guest list.
Okay.
Right, because how many times you go into a party that, oh God, this is really lame, right?
Yeah.
I'd put a really great group of people together, crank
sure.
up the music and a well-stocked bar. Those are your 3. Because you can take that party anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. It's the right people, the right music, and the right... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You could be in a park.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you have the right people, you could do it. That's
exactly.
That's what I say. Like, if you're going to do an intimate party, make sure it's the right people. And if you're going to do a large party, it has to be the right people too. Because if it's not, like, I feel people are like, oh, the larger the party, then the less it is. I'm like, no, I think the larger the party, like, the more intimate and finding your group. And, like, yeah, for sure. I think, those are the 3 main things you need to have. So what would a Colin Cowie themed event look like? Like, based off your vibe, like, what would you say if it was, like, for your event?
Like, ridiculously chic. And really fun, I think we still love a good 70s party. It was such a great era. You rewind that clock back to Studio 54. Everybody knows every word to every song.
For sure.
Every single one of those icons. And, compared to the musical genres of today, it was so much more glamorous.
I know. Everything now is like EDM and my whole playlist is like all like 70s, 80s, like some even 60s, like jazz, like that.
But what I really love now is like you take current musicians and they remix the oldies and they put a whole new rhythm
it's a whole new
to
vibe.
it. I mean, that's like, you don't have to write any new music. Just like figure out the old ones.
It's all these mixers.
Yeah.
It's the best. Like
Yeah.
when people blend the two. Because what if I want like Ariana Grande, but singing like a Mariah Carey song from like for sure.
Well, Bruno Mars playing the standards is unbelievable.
He's insane.
Yeah.
His newest like hit with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
He is like genuinely one of the most talented people ever.
And I think that's one of the most important things happening in our world today is collaborations.
For sure.
Right? The sum of the parts. Like
Collabs.
when you mix this brand with that brand and this becomes the magic.
All the time. Yeah, and that's what people the thing that people want the most is something that is like that. Like a collab with a fashion brand. When you see like Pokemon work with like Gucci, or when you see like all those things, people jump on it right away because it's
completely
because you take one thing you love, like if you love Disney and you love like Saint Laurent, like you're gonna buy
the spin of the two.
It's the best,
and also it just appeals. Your audience is now twice the size.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Colin gave me this insane book. It's called The Gold Standard. What was this process like writing this?
Okay, so I wrote this book and I finished it during the pandemic. I called it The Gold Standard, giving your customers what they never knew they wanted.
For sure.
So why did I write this book? Because I think that we have all come to a place in our lives where we've realized that we don't need another product, another car, another service, another hotel brand, right? Mm-hmm. We are saturated.
Yes.
It's like, how do we stand out in the crowd?
For sure.
Right? So the book really is about how do we build a culture inside of your company? Because for me, culture is the gas in the tank that moves you from A to B, right?
For sure.
So if you want to get ahead 100 miles an hour, that's not enough. You've been ahead 120 miles an hour, right? And so having a strong culture is very important. And then I talk about proactive customer service because I started the conversation with all about how we make you feel.
Yeah.
Right? So there's two types of customer service. There's reactive. Something goes wrong, you put up your hand. If you fix it right, you do it well. You can buy a bit of loyalty. But proactive customer service is where the magic happens. Wow. That's when we can take AI, information, data technology, right? And we can serve a guest experience where we get to anticipate your unanticipated needs.
Insane. Like you were saying, like the facial recognition and like all that stuff.
And also like when you check into your hotel room and we know from your social media that you left a little puppy behind and there's a little picture of the puppy in a frame next to the bed.
Oh my God.
Or we read that some great piece of information that we found out about you and we personalized your room that way. Or you're a fashion designer and we've written in white chalk on your mirror, a quote by Halston or Coco Chanel, right? I've given you 3 different examples, but one doesn't cost a cent, right?
Yeah.
Not a cent, but it's about how we make you feel.
Exactly.
Right?
Not everything has to be like the most expensive thing to be
not at all. Not at all. But at the end of the day, if we really want to own our relationships, right, we want to make sure that your customer, your guest, your end user is emotionally connected to you.
Sure.
The emotionally connected person is not price sensitive. They love to get information from you. They spend more freely, and more importantly, they tell your friends about you, and that is priceless.
Exactly.
Right? Everything today revolves around service.
For sure.
One way or another.
Yes.
Right? And I think we use service. For me, service is a currency. Right? If I do it well, I'll stand out in the crowd. You will remember me. You know. And I tell people, why don't you take the time just to start writing thank you notes?
Yeah.
It's the smallest thing in the world.
For sure.
To open an envelope with chic station with someone's initials on, say, thank you for this, what a great dinner last night, or thanks for the article you sent me, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. We write thank you because no one is doing them anymore. Everything comes from a text.
I know.
Or stand out in the crowd, grab attention, write someone a handwritten thank you note. Yeah. They'll take notice of you.
For sure. And like speaking of like technology, this is where my question is: how has technology and like all these new advances with like AI like changed and shaped like this new wave of like designing?
You know, I know this much, but I've played around with it, and it's just unbelievable.
It's insane.
You know, I had to write a brief the other day. I've had to write introductions to things, and all of a sudden now, we would sit there and I'd take a half an hour, and that's sometimes you do get a bit brain dead because then how am I going to start this article?
Yeah.
You go and put it into ChatGPT, right? Drop that into a Word document and edit it and say no, I can colonize it this way, or this way, and all of a sudden it's my document. So I've done that way. We're playing around with design. We can take a room and say, listen, I want a cement poured in place contemporary space with ceiling to ground windows in the back window. Add a grand piano.
Makes it
do the canvas leather, whatever it might be. But it's incredible, and I think we're just touching.
We're just breaking the surface.
We're just breaking the surface of this, but we're using it a lot.
I'm sure.
For this book, I do a lot of lectures and I do a lot of public speaking. So we had worked on a curriculum, and my head of IT was giving us a company update.
Yeah.
So he said, just look what we did. I said, let's write a 2-day curriculum for studying Colin Cowie's The Gold Standard.
Wow.
In less than 30 seconds. Came out a document, okay, that basically said, these are your opening remarks, this is what you're going to talk about, morning break, regroup chapter 1, this is the takeaway. The entire thing was laid out for it, and we'd spend a week doing this. You just watched him do it in 30 seconds.
It's insane. Like, when for me, like, sometimes when I'm like having to write things to send like in long emails, and they're like, we need all these information, and I have it all, but I don't want. It takes me hours to write the in between. Write it to ChatGPT, organize it. I'm like, oh no, can you tweak it this way? No. Write it like this way. It's insane.
It's incredible.
In 10 seconds.
And then we started playing with it and said, okay, I've got 26 team members coming to Miami for a company update. What are the 3 hotels within this
in the area?
distance?
I do it for restaurants.
I said, and we're looking for my people who are vegan. We've got vegan menus. Do you have breakouts? And the next minute, 2 weeks worth of work was done in 30 minutes watching our IT guy. Now we're all doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I know. It's like when I was just came back from New York last night, and I was in Tribeca, and I'm like not really familiar with that area so much. I'm like, what are the top 5 best restaurants for Italian in this area? Gives me a full review on each of them. It's just like insane.
And then technology in our industry with the lighting, we would do video mapping and video projection on a building. I'd spend
graphics
so much money, right, to cover an entire palace, 10 stories by God knows how wide, right, and then create the content for it. Now the technology in lighting, yes, everything's been with cables. Now it's all cordless and it's battery operated. Bluetooth. We're living in a very, very, very exciting time.
I know, I'm excited. I love it. Everyone's like, I'm so scared. I'm like, no, robots come and robots can like do the dishes for me. I'm like, that's great.
I had a robot making martinis for us the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love to have one at home.
I need a robot for everything. I need a robot to make my bed. I need a robot and then I need Roombas cleaning the floors. So we're closing it up. So what inspires you outside of event planning?
Travel.
Yeah.
Travel. I've traveled 16.5 million miles around the world.
Oh my God.
I've almost visited 100 countries.
Are you like the most traveled?
I did 7.5 million miles on American Airlines.
Really. I'm saying you can book anything with that.
Traveling, always, going to visit new places or, revisiting the old ones. You're always inspired by, going into, whether it's a restaurant, or a little corner cafe, or I love going into markets. I love going to old fabric stores.
Same. Yeah. I love it. I just came from like the best market in New York. What's your favorite place you traveled? You have to pick one.
I have to say going home to Africa, because I'm a very, very avid safari person and a conservationist.
It's insane.
And from my crazy life of traveling the way that I do, to go and get lost in the African wilderness and be the lowest on the food chain in the presence of these magnificent animals, for me it's my la la land. Safari in Africa, it's like seriously my favorite. It was the most insane trip ever. Oh. So who has been the most influential person in your career, and like what lessons did they teach you? Oh, there've been many. But I would, I've been going back to again, so the same names came up 3 times in this interview. Yeah. I would say Oprah Winfrey, I was on the Oprah Winfrey show 20 plus times. Wow. I've done parties for the last 25 years, and, I can't walk through an airport without getting recognized thanks to her.
Yeah, she's the best. For sure, she's such an influence. So what legacy do you hope to leave in this world, like planning and design? Like, what's the one thing where you're like, wow, that is the thing I really want people to
live your best life possible, right? We never know how long it's going to last. We never know how long you can ride the wave. So I think live your best life possible. Treat yourself really, really well.
Yes. Right. You only have one thing. You
one
only
time to go around.
Let's go.
A little self-indulgence goes a long way.
Yeah, and
be kind, be generous, be nice. Put out what you'd like to come back to you, and I think then the world will serve you well.
Will serve you back, exactly. Yeah. And lastly, what's next for Colin Cowie?
I'm doing something in the safari space around conservation and around underperforming communities, and that's something that I'm really, really excited about because it's design, it's guest experience, it's everything.
Yeah. And where can thank you, first of all, thank you so much. It's been like an amazing interview. And where can the listeners follow your journey and learn more about your work?
I think Instagram at colincowie.com or Colin Cowie.
Colin
Find
Cowie.
it somewhere.
And make sure to go check out his new book, The Gold Standard. It looks insane. I'm super excited to read this. And yeah, you can follow Colin Cowie on Instagram, everywhere, honestly. You could just type in his name into anything and he pops up. And then for me, you can just follow me at the Austin Interviews ... podcast, just Austin Interviews on Instagram and TikTok. You can listen to me on Spotify. We're everywhere. Make sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Ciao. Have a good time.